language and culture. You've come to the right place, need you to learn about it all. Welcome to NANABOOZHOO, the podcast about OJIBWE language and culture. BOOZHOO, NANABOOZHOO, the podcast about OJIBWE language and culture. And culture. La 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 la. Welcome to BOOZHOO. Okay, BOOZHOO. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to BOOZHOO NANABOOZHOO, the podcast about Ojibwe language and culture. And I don't know. What else, sweetie? We do Ojibwe language and culture, sometimes Ojibwe history. Yeah, the best we can. Mostly just questioning history. Mostly this is a show about telling everyone how little we know. And Richard John is here. Mino Gigajeb. Good morning, Richard. Richard's here, sweetie. BOOZHOO, Richard. Natasha says BOOZHOO. And welcome to BOOZHOO NANABOOZHOO, the podcast. So today's Ojibwe word of the day. This just in. Floor washing day. Gazibigi saganake gija good. It is the day of the floor washing. Because in the Ojibwe culture, we say that Saturdays are the sacred day to wash your floor. No, actually, I always thought that the names of the weeks must have got invented by Ojibwe speakers after the boarding school era, huh, sweetie? Yeah, probably. Because back in the days of the grandfathers, all of our ancestors, they went to these, well, not all of them, but there's a few generations there, the boarding school era. Or, if you like, in Canada, the residential school era. The First Nations residential school. Anyway. But we called it the Indian boarding schools. And so all the days of the week in Ojibwe were like, Sunday was prayer day, because of church. Monday was the day after prayer day, Ishwa Anama E Gijagud. And Tuesday would be like the second day. Wednesday was halfway. Thursday was the fourth day. Friday was the fifth day. But Saturday was the floor washing day. That must have been the day they didn't have class. They just had to do chores. You have to wash the floors. And it would be Gazibigi Saganagay. Gija good. And this has been your Ojibwe word of the day. So how are you guys doing? How are you doing, John? Richard John? I always want to call him John. It's really cold up here in northern Minnesota. What was yesterday? 22 below? Something like that. It's a high of like 7 below. 2 of our pipes froze up. Hey, Jim is here. BOOZHOO, Jim. BOOZHOO, Jim. Natasha says hello. Jim's got his sunny shades on. I wonder if Shady's side will show up. She likes to wear the shades too. But yeah, 2 of our pipes froze up. And I was getting depressed. We were talking about it on a show yesterday. That it's hard not to get the winter blues when it's so cold. And then like the pickup wouldn't start. It still won't start. Gonna have to buy another bottle of heat, I guess. Can a car just run on that yellow heat? But and then everything starts to break down because it's just so cold. The house is popping. And I had to crawl down to the basement yesterday and bring a space heater. Try to thaw out the pipes. It took a couple hours. But then, sure enough, you never really appreciate little things like running hot water until you don't have it. And eventually I saw that hot water return. I'm like, oh, we got our water back. We're going to be okay. We can take a shower for the first time all week. Richard John says, cold here in New England. Also, -2 below. -2 in New England, sweetie. Oh, really? Yeah. Boy, that'd feel great to me now. I wish it was -2. I'd take off my shirt and go running around outside. That would be a heat wave. Daniel Black is here. BOOZHOO NANABOOZHOO. Daniel Black calling in. BOOZHOO, Daniel. Natasha says hello. And so, yeah, floor washing day. But you know what? Due to some encouraging advice yesterday on how to combat the winter blues, I washed my floors yesterday. I mean, I swept them is what I did. I didn't really dare use the vacuum cleaner. Why? Well, when we have so many space heaters running, I think I'm going to, pop, what do they call that? The fuse. But I swept up the floors, did the dishes, made my bed, did some push-ups. Went for a, half a block walk. And came back because it was 22 below. And I didn't know if I'd make it. But, Jessica's here. Jessica's here, sweetie. Good morning, Jessica! Oh, speaking English. I like it. Good morning, Jessica. Mino Gigajebe. And Daniel Black says, driving home. Be back in a bit. Okay, we'll see you in a little bit, Daniel. This is weird. This show's becoming like a Zoom call. Okay, what's going on? So, yeah. Gazibby's geese are gonna get... Hey, sweetie! Yeah? Yeah, I meant... Oh, it's weird. My voice does... My mouth sometimes doesn't match my voice. What's up? Well, we have a phone call. Oh, you do? Okay, can you put him on line 2? Line 2, okay. All right, caller, you're on the air. Hello there, Nanaboozhoo. Hey, is this Kermit? That's right, this is Kermit the Frog. Oh, how you doing, man? Longtime fan, You're a real inspiration in my life. Oh, is that right? Oh, that's very nice of you to say. Yeah, you were the first... People took you seriously as a singer. Remember that song, The Rainbow Connection? And It's Not Easy Being Green? You actually got radio hits. How did you do that? Well, I had a really good manager, and Sesame Street was really popular that year, and I think it was around the time we started the Muppet Show. Yeah. So that's great. What can I do for you today, sir? Well, I was just wondering if I could teach the Ojibwe word of the day. Oh, you're a little late. Our Ojibwe word of the day is floor washing day. Gazibigi saganagay. Oh, Gazibigi saganagay. I like that. Floor washing day. Wait a second, man. Is this really Kermit? This is Kermit the Frog. There's no way of us really knowing, but the more you talk, the less I believe this is Kermit. But anyway... yeah, sorry, we already have an Ojibwe word. Do you want to teach one anyway? I would... Actually, could I just make a request? Yeah, sure. What's so funny? Oh, nothing. Never mind. Maybe my word will be... Gigawabamin Medawa. I will see you again. Yeah, okay. See you later, Kermit. Okay, bye. Yay! You think that was really Kermit? Yeah, why wouldn't it be? I don't know. I mean, it kind of sounded like him at first. That's why I thought it would be funny to talk to him for a little while. But then the more he talked, the less I believed it was Kermit. I guess we all learned something. I'm sorry. Anyway, so yeah, today is the day of floor washing. And, yesterday we were talking about Mount Rushmore. We did a show once where I was like, this is an open letter. It was last summer. They were doing all those riots, and they were tearing down the statues of Columbus. Antifa would be like, tear down that statue, and just smash some, priceless, ancient, historical statue of Columbus. And all these kids would be like, Native Americans, you're welcome. We'd be like, hey man, nobody asked you to do that. Don't be stupid. You just destroyed somebody's property. I don't know why those guys don't get arrested. As an artist, that makes me angry. I don't care who it is of. I mean, what if I made a statue of Hitler? I did a sculpture. Here's a sculpture of Hitler. And there's a drawing I did. You gonna smash it? Well, you don't like he was bad, so you shouldn't make art of him. Really? How many great paintings of the devil have there been? Anyway, so that was annoying me, and I did like an open letter saying, "Dear Antifa, please don't tear down Paul Bunyan." I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking we hate Paul Bunyan because he's a big white man and he's a clear-cutter logger or something. And everybody assumes Native Americans are environmentalists, But I'm just on behalf of the people of Bemidji. Leave Paul Bunyan alone. Don't vandalize our statue. Because every other day you get on that Facebook and there's some nice Indian family posing in front of Mount Rushmore and all letting their children give the finger to this great work of art. It's like, oh yeah, we hate Mount Rushmore. It's like, you idiots. But anyway, so let's get into this. Mount Rushmore. Oh yeah, and Monday's you know what? It's Abraham Lincoln's birthday. Old Honest Abe. I wonder how old he'd be now, huh? Like 100 or 200 or something? I have no idea. Maybe a lot older than 100. My grandpa would be 100 by now. So Mount Rushmore is in, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And the story goes that a man named Richard Berglund or something. I think it's Berglund. A Polish, immigrant or something. Sculptor. Polish-American sculptor. I think is how Wikipedia wrote him. I came up with an idea. He went to the government and he said, hey, I got this great idea. I'm going to carve the largest stone sculpture in the world. It'll be the 4 presidents. We're going to have George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. I think nobody remembers if it's Jefferson or Jackson. I think it's Jefferson. Teddy Roosevelt and Abraham Lincoln. And it'll just be their faces. We'll all be cuddled together there. We'll have like Jefferson kind of resting his chin on Abraham or on George Washington. And the government said, hey, that's a great idea. Here's a check. How much you need? He goes, millions of dollars. This is a huge undertaking. I say, yeah, go ahead. So they say, where are you going to do this? And Berglund says, I think I'll go someplace where nobody goes. How about the middle of Sioux territory? I don't know, like South Dakota? Maybe it'll help their tourism. They'll be like, why are you trying to encourage tourism in South Dakota. He goes, well, I'm just going to do that. And you're like, okay, go ahead. Here you go. Will this buy enough, dynamite and chisels and hammers for you? He goes, oh yeah, I'm also going to need some buckets. I'm going to need some buckets and some pulleys and some strings to carve this thing. He said, okay. So he goes back to South Dakota and he starts, he gets to work. Like 10 years later, he's done. I guess. And then a year after that, he dies. So this is like in 1947. I really should have paid attention. I don't know what year this was. Not that long ago is what they say. But then you go, so on the face, I mean, this is the most amazing thing America has to offer. We don't have any other artwork that can even be mentioned in the same sentence as the Statue of David or those like Phoenician sculptures or anything. This thing is carved in stone. It is huge. But it's also, it cannot be what the official story says. Because when you think about it, did I get the, no I didn't. Some of you might be familiar with the old Crazy Horse monument. They've been building since the 1940s. And it's one head. It's like they've made no progress in the last 40 years. I went there when I was a little kid. And as far as I can tell, they've done nothing. It's just a face. Welcome to Crazy Horse's face. We will rival the Mount Rushmore. It's like not even close, buddy. But then, if you look up close, here is George Washington's eye. And there's you can kind of see a square stone there. That's for the reflection, miles away. So it looks more lifelike. They all have that. Okay, so there he is, his full face. And it looks, that was purposeful. Also, that thing's huge. Like, a man could stand up on that eye. Wait, that's somebody else. But it's incredible. I don't care what you think of American history. And if you don't really appreciate, what is probably a Freemasonic, Satan-worshipping cult that started this country. But as an artist, I look at that, and I don't believe one guy did this. I don't know what the real story is, but I think that's probably nonsense. But I have to say, I think it's an amazing work of art. And so, on this Kazibigi Saganage, I think we should honor, on Lincoln's birthday, Mount Rushmore. I, for one, appreciate you guys have been there all these years looking out over the prairie, encouraging tourism, giving inspiration to dynamite people, bombers everywhere, with nothing more than dynamite, hammers, and chisels. Anybody can make this. It's like, yikes. And the mystery deepens. I don't care what you say. I like Mount Rushmore. Leave him alone. Let's see. Jessica Gonzalez says, next time Kermit would teach us green. Yeah. Maybe if Kermit could sound more realistic, he could become more of a reoccurring character. Richard John says, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. Okay, thank you. Thomas Jefferson. It was Thomas Jefferson, sweetie. Yeah, that's what I thought. Theodore Roosevelt and Abraham Lincoln. Yeah. I don't trust the stories we've been taught about who those guys were at all. You know, I'm sure. Whoops. I'm sure I don't know the truth. That's all I know for sure. As I get older, I was thinking about this the other day. The more I understand, there's like an old saying from Socrates or something. The first act of true wisdom is to admit you are ignorant. Well, as I'm getting older, it's not even like I have to admit that I'm ignorant. I start to realize I don't understand anything. Like when it really comes down to it, I don't understand. Let's go talking biblically again. I don't understand the trilogy. I don't know what a Holy Spirit is. I don't understand the whole crucifixion thing, you know. I don't understand how Jesus could be God and God could also be his Father at the same time. Was he praying to himself on the cross when he said, "Forgive them, Father"? I don't understand prayer at all. Like, is it okay to just ask for stuff? What are we talking about? Like back to the basics. I go, what? I guess if I'm being totally honest, I mostly don't understand Gitche Manadu at all. I don't understand. I can't be sure that, I don't trust any authorities. Oh, I'm the Pope. Ew. Okay, keep walking. Oh, I'm the Dalai Lama. Nobody can understand you. Oh, I'm Joel Osteen. Has he been exposed yet as being a corrupt guy? Joel Osteen? Yeah. I barely know who that is. I know, me too. I don't know why his name just came up. But I think he's one of those guys who's like says, if you give me enough money, you'll become rich. Oh, yeah, it's like the prosperity something missionary. Yeah. Kind of a law of attraction pastor. I don't trust it. I don't know it. I'm ignorant. So I got to admit, when it really comes down to it, I must be getting some wisdom because I have to admit I don't understand anything. Richard John says they also wanted to feature American West heroes such as Lewis and Clark, their expedition guide Sacagawea, Ogla Lakota Chief Red Cloud, Buffalo Bill Cody, and Ogla Chief Crazy Horse. Wow. You'd be having just action figures all over the mountains. But I'd like to see him try. That's what makes Mount Rushmore so special. If it were that easy to do, we'd see people have done it since then. And you look at some of those old pictures of the people constructing Mount Rushmore, and the pictures look very suspicious. It looks like, some, they go, well, they got a scaffolding and there's no Lincoln behind them. That must have been before they carved it. But there's something, I smell some deception there. I don't know what it is, but my spidey sense is going off. Borglum believed that the sculpture should have broader appeal and chose the 4 presidents. Well, that's the official story. But I'm wondering if it's not like the Tartarian buildings where these Freemasons took credit for work that somebody else had done. Like maybe those pictures, because they show a guy, like one guy working on George Washington's nose. He'll be in like a little harness with and you go, one guy did not carve that face. How could you possibly do that? You couldn't get perspective unless you walked way back. So I wonder, I think they constructed a story that said, oh yeah, these 4 guys all represent different times in America's history, and this is the reason. But maybe it was already there. Somebody else, some other people did this, some advanced You know, in the 80s, I would have said, I bet you aliens came here and made that and then left, and then we took credit. But, you know, maybe the people before us, the Tartarians or something, carved it, and then we came around and said, okay, that guy on the left, we'll call that guy Washington. Take a picture. We're going to put it on the money. And, you know, and then that becomes kind of the standard image of what George Washington looks like. You know, who knows? I'm just kind of speculating. I have no idea. It could be exactly as Wikipedia tells us. That could be the one part of history that's not just kind of made up. Yep, originally wanted to depict the presidents all the way down to the chest as well, but ran out of funds. Yeah, they always run out of funds. You know, why did they have the funds in the first place? Wasn't it during the Great Depression? Like, so you can pay tax dollars to do this? And then you look at, like, when you visit the place, they'll show you a model, a sculpture of what the little version was before they started to carve the big thing. And it just looks, it looks like Play-Doh. It's just stupid. It's obviously like they couldn't sculpt anything, even small, nearly as realistic looking as the great big one. And you go, you guys, I think you're trying to pull one on us. I think they're trying to pull a fast one. Hey, sweetie. Yeah? We got a phone call. Oh, really? Can you put them on line 2? Yeah, line 2. Okay. Caller, you're on the air. Hey, everybody. Hey, Michael Jackson, how you doing? I'm okay. What can I do for you today? Well, I just want to call in and weigh in on the Mount Rushmore. Oh, yeah? Yeah. You know, it's ignorant. They didn't carve that. What makes you say that? Well, because, you know, they didn't screw up on the noses. When you carve somebody's face, you cut off their noses. Well, not everybody gets their nose cut off when they start playing around with, you know, plastic surgery. What do you mean? I mean, what happened to you was unfortunate and your own fault. But it's not like just because the Mount Rushmore have noses. Like, am I understanding you right? That because they have their noses, you don't believe somebody did a sculpture on it? Yeah, it's ignorant. There's no way. Okay. All right. Anything else I can do for you today, Mr. Jackson? No, I just want to come in and say BOOZHOO. Okay, thanks, man. I got to get back to this. Okay, Michael Jackson. You would think he'd have something to say if he called in. I know. Maybe next time before he calls in, he can think of something, like come up with a bit. Well, I guess it's up to him. We'll never know. Yeah. So, yeah, they cut off Michael Jackson's nose, despite his face. Jessica says, it was completed not that long ago. Our grandparents were alive. Well, that's what they say. It's always in those pictures. Yeah, it was during the Depression, is what the official story is. Oh, I wish my grandparents were still alive. I got more questions about their grandparents. You know, did you guys know your grandparents? How did my grandpa's mom and dad meet? Richard John's cracking up. Just because only Michael Jackson and the Egyptian monuments get their noses cut off. Yeah, have you ever seen that? There's an Egyptian monument looks exactly like Michael Jackson. His nose is just cut off. It's so weird. And you realize, it's like, what? How come there's a huge sculpture of Michael Jackson in real life? And everyone's like, well, it just looks like him. It's like, I know. Why does he look, after all that plastic surgery and the nose being cut off, How could he still look so much like that sculpture? So weird. You know, there is one sculpture that I wish Antifa would tear down. Statue of Liberty. That thing's an eyesore. I can't stand any of those. I know it's from like the Greco-Roman period or whatever. The Lady Liberty. Anybody wearing... There's even that creepy George Washington statue where he's like posing as the Baphomet and he's in a toga. I forget what it's called. And I don't know. It's just so creepy. But I'm tired of... No, I'm not. What am I saying? I was gonna say I was tired of all sculptures of people in sheets. But that's like all of every sculpture, you know. Every depiction, you know, from the old days, from the Bible days. The one thing I don't understand, maybe you guys can help me with this. Like, this is the other thing I don't understand. So I'm not a Catholic. I don't even know anything about that stuff. It looks really spooky to me. But they go, okay, we're Catholics. We're the serious Christians. And it says, you know, one of the commandments says, no graven images. And you go, okay, no graven, what does that mean? No drawings, no engravings, no sculptures, graven images. And then you go, okay, what's in the front of every Catholic church? What is that staff the Pope carries around, got on it? A picture of Jesus on the cross dying with the, you know, and you go, hikes. Yeah, you know, we all get it. That's the great sacrifice, I guess. And the other thing I don't understand, the most basic tenet of Christianity. And I'm not saying I don't believe it, you know, but I just don't understand it. So God couldn't forgive anybody until he sent his son, which was him, to die. And then that was like a some sort of pagan sacrifice to God, and then he was resurrected. You know, that's the most basic part of that whole religion. And I don't fully understand it. But who cares? Anyway, oh yeah, so you go Catholicism. How come if that's against the... It's in the Bible, don't do that. Why do you do it on everything? Everybody gets all upset at Muslims. They go, oh, you guys are crazy. You say you can't draw a picture of Muhammad or you're going to get killed? It's like, well, you know, Christians also have the same rule. You know, they're just a little more forgiving, I guess. But to the Catholics, like, nope, we're not going to pay attention to that. And then there was that one line I was thinking about where it goes, call no other man father but me. And so what do they call every head of every Catholic church? Hello, father. It's like, what? When did that start? I didn't even call my dad father. I call him dad. But, you know, hello, father. I am Father Johnson. Okay. I am Mother Mary. Oh, now we got to call you Mother because he's the father? I am Sister Ruth. Oh, great. Where's Brother Tom? Yep. Father, mother, brother, sister, daughter. I'm probably going to make some Catholics mad here. Jessica says, think of it like this. Back then, it wasn't so abnormal for gods to require human sacrifice. Child sacrifice was not unusual now. Yeah, but here comes a God who instead loves people and sacrificed his son for people. Still, it's not really our way to sacrifice anybody. I don't even like sacrificing animals. That's the part I don't understand. What maniac needs you to kill something for him? You know, like your neighbor comes up, hey, can I borrow your mower? Sure, just kill your pet. What? You can have my mower for the afternoon. You know, you don't even have to gas it up by just putting gas in there. I just require this one thing. Kill your dog. Kill your dog and then burn him. And I will give blessings of my lawnmower. You know. Oh. Blasphemer! Why don't you quit blaspheming? You think things aren't bad enough? You think it's cold now? That's what I'm trying to do. It's so cold in Minnesota that I'm trying to make God angry so he heats up. Bejig nijne sway ni win, nanen en gold was sway, nij was sway, nish was sway, junga sway, and midda sway. We will count to, sweetie. Yeah, another phone call. Okay, line 2. Line 2. Caller, you're on the air. You're playing my favorite song. Oh, is that the Count? Yes, it is I, the Count from Sesame Street. Oh, so you like the counting song, huh? I love the counting song. 'Cause that is my thing. That is what I do. I count to 10 in Ojibwe. You want to give it a try? Yes, how about today I count in Ojibwe, and you count in English. Yeah, okay. Go ahead. Well, to begin, Beijing. 1. Okay, we talked about this, man. You can't laugh after everything you say. Oh, yes, that is right. Nij. 2. This way. 3. Niwin. 4. Nanen. 5. Ningod waswe. 6. Nij waswe. 7. Ish waswe. 8. Jongaswe. 9. Midaswe. 10. Yeah, I get it now. Sometimes you just want to laugh after you count. So how are things in your neck of the way? Are you back in Sesame Street, or are you still in Transylvania? I'm still in Transylvania. I'll be going back. We'll start filming next season's Sesame Street in the fall. You mean the spring? Yes, that is exactly what I meant. In the spring. Okay. So, you've been on Sesame Street for a long time now. Yes, I think I came on in the early 1970s. Yeah, it seems like I think I'm old enough to remember when you started Sesame Street. Like, it feels to me, and I could be wrong, that Sesame Street, when I was really little, didn't have the count. And then at some point, when I was 9 or 10, they introduced the new character, the Count, who would count. Yes, that is right. And now it's been, I don't know, that's got to be like 45 years or so. And you look exactly the same. Yes, well, it's the precious blood. When I suck the blood of the innocent, I maintain my youthful looks. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're a vampire. I keep forgetting. Yes, I am undead. Okay. Well, anything else I can do for you today, Count? Pray for my doomed soul. I have killed so much. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, try not to kill so much, okay? Okay. I've killed so much, I have lost count. Okay, I gotta go, man. Gigawaba min. Minawa. Gigawaba min. Minawa. Yeah, you keep forgetting that Count is a vampire. I know. You forget that he's responsible for countless deaths. Yeah. Not so cute or funny anymore when you realize just what he did. Do you think the Count killed Mr. Hooper? I don't know. Maybe he bit Mr. Hooper on the neck and Mr. Hooper's, a vampire now. He could be. What do you guys think? What happened to Mr. Hooper? He had a perfectly good store. Mr. Hooper, for you younger kids, was a character on Sesame Street. He was one of the humans, or whatever you want to call them, the grown-ups. And he ran a store. And Big Bird could never remember his name. He'd be like, "Oh, how you doing, Mr. Pooper?" And he'd be like, "No, Big Bird's Hoopa, Hoopa." You get the impression Sesame Street's out east somewhere. Hoopa. Like, are they in New York? I don't know. I think they're in the barrio. Yeah, I don't even know what a barrio is. But then he dies, and there's that sad episode where they have to break the news to Big Bird. And I still can't figure out Big Bird. What do you mean? Well, I know he's supposed to be kind of like childlike. But at the same time, he lives on his own. But he like just doesn't understand the concept of death. You know, he like makes drawings of all the people. He's go, "Oh, Gordon, here's a drawing for you I made." And Gordon's like, "Oh, that's great." "Oh, hey, Marie, here's a drawing." He goes, "Where's Mr. Hooper?" And they go, "Big Bird, we got to tell you something. Mr. Hooper has passed away." And he goes, "Okay, well, I'll give it to him when he comes back." And wasn't Gordon? What was the white guy's name? Was it Gordon? John? I forget. But he goes, "No, Big Bird. He's never coming back. He's dead." He goes, "What do you mean?" And they have to kind of explain in very childish ways, you know, that Mr. Hooper has died to Big Bird. And you can tell it was the first time he had ever heard of the concept. And you go, how old is Big Bird supposed to be? 3? I mean, is Big Bird like wearing a diaper or something? Because I knew what death was by the time I was a kindergartner, because they're constantly playing guns. "Ah, I'm dead. We'll count to 10. I'm going to run away. Hide." You know? I mean, I didn't understand death. I still don't. But, you know, I had some notion of that people died, you know, very young. But nope. Big Bird, you know, it's like, "Mr. Hooper is dead, Big Bird, just like your parents. Don't you remember?" "What?" "Yeah. Why do you think you never see your parents around? It's like they died. The Count killed them. He's killing everybody in this neighborhood. He's a vampire. It's not funny." "Oh, two people I've killed today." You know, it's terrible. That's a sick show when you think about it. Don't you think, sweetie? Let's see. Back then, okay, hold on. Making sacrifices. Okay, Jessica says, back then they depended on the sun to rise, on the seasons to come, on the rain, etc. Humans needed to appease the forces that control these things. Right. But do the forces really need it to be appeased? I don't know. Where did we get that idea? It's like, well, we need to make it rain. What should we do? Well, we could slice this goat's throat, burn it up. How is that going to make it rain? I don't know. Maybe God will look favorably on us. He likes, barbecue goat. Richard John says, God, in the early translations of the Bible into Ojibwe, and today many Ojibwe people consider Gitche Manadu and the Christian God to be one and the same, which I find a contradiction. Well, the thing is, there's only one creator. There can only be one creator. So the Great Spirit, the creator, is either the same creator as the Christian creator. There's not different. A lot of people are very anti-Christian. They're very anti-Christ when it comes to native spirituality because they blame Christians. I was just talking to my cousin Bertie. She's got some pretty hard feelings about Christianity because of boarding schools and missionaries, and it's like, well, there's a difference between the Creator and his followers and his believers. So yeah, it's not a contradiction. The other weird thing is that I was just reading. I wasn't reading anything. I was lying. I was watching a video about okay, I'm just gonna say it, NANABOOZHOO, and they said there's a story in ancient, which I haven't read yet, that talks about NANABOOZHOO getting swallowed by a huge fish, and being in the belly of the whale for 3 days and then coming out. And there's also a flood story, which I do know, and an Adam and Eve story, basically. There's a lot of parallels in our stories to biblical stories. But everything's gotten garbled and grabbled and whatever in history and in politics and in racism and undoing racism, that it's hard to even know what to think anymore. Hey, Brandy Marie's here, sweetie. BOOZHOO, Brandy. BOOZHOO, Brandy. Brandy says, good morning, NANABOOZHOO, Natasha, and Michael. Oh, yeah, and Michael here. Oh, by the way, Michael Lyons is here, and Natasha, and me, NANABOOZHOO. So yeah, BOOZHOO, Brandy. Jessica says, I think the reason for choosing Manitou as the translation is its closest meaning to spirit, similarly to refresh in ancient Hebrews. Or I'm sorry, Nepish. Interesting. Manitou. Yeah, actually, Manitou Island, it's a derivative of Manadoog, spirits. But Manitoba, or was it Winnipeg? Yeah, Winnie. Winnipeg and Winnebagoshish. We have a lot of these words that have the Winnipeg sound kind of like that. It has something to do with like muddy water. And that's what I think about religion in general. It's a muddy water. It's gotten all muddy. Too much stirring up. In our vision, we can't see through it. Who knows? Don't listen to me, kids. I'm an idiot. As I walk along, Natasha, did you want to come here and say hello to the BOOZHOO crew? I would love to say hello to the BOOZHOO crew this morning, wishing you were here by me to end this misery, and I wonder why she ran away, and I wonder where she will stay. My little runaway, run away, run away. Oh, we're really good at that. Yeah, I know, huh? All right, I'm gonna Mahjong. Thank you so much. Miigwech kanawabi egg. Thank you for watching. We'll be back tomorrow for our... Oh, you know what? We should have a Valentine's special tomorrow morning. Should we do Valentine's Day? Yep. Tomorrow will be our Valentine's Day special, which we have nothing planned, and it'll probably feel and look exactly like today's show. But, I'll see you again. Gigawabamin, Minowa. All right. You know what to do. See you later. All right, sweetie. I got them all warmed up for you. I'm like your opening act that takes the whole show. Yeah, no kidding. We're almost out of time now. Yeah. And, did you want me to do an Ojibwe word of the day? Well, you could probably talk about it, but I don't think anybody cares that much. I mean, it's kind of nice. It's sort of the theme of the show, but, I mean, it's not like this is a proper Ojibwe language lesson or even class. Yeah, I know. Can you imagine if you went to an hour-long class and there was only one word you learned? Man, when I was in college, I'd be lucky if I even learned one word. Yeah, me too. Thank you, Michael. You're so useful sometimes. Hey, everybody, BOOZHOO. Natasha Nandisha Nakaz. Natasha is my name, which I think everyone here knows already. because there's only 6 of us. And how you guys doing? So good to be here today. Makare mashkiki wapu. Richard John singing my tune. Jim Dunn's here. Jim Dunn, you crazy hippie. Brandy Marie's cracking up. Richard John. Ween gazing. La 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 la. Ooka-hey, hoka-hey. You know what we should do this morning, sweetie? What's that? Since we gotta walk to the automotive place to get some more heat, we could break up the trip by stopping at Country Kitchen. You know what? We still got $10 left on our gift card. Oh, there you go. That's like one free breakfast. So we're gonna go to Country Kitchen this morning. It's our favorite restaurant. Michael, you used to have a crush on that one waitress, didn't you? Maybe we shouldn't talk about that. Get out of here. And I don't think she works there anymore. Well, then let's go to Perkins. Yeah. And but we can go to Country Kitchen, and that's only a few blocks away. And then we can make the rest of the trip afterwards. Because we're not out of coffee. We got the cheap stuff, but we're out of the good stuff. So, yeah. Sunny day. Yeah, I don't know. You know what I was thinking about yesterday? Somebody mentioned the movie The Shining again. You know, we made a joke the other day about, it's so cold. I feel like Jack Nicholson at the end of The Shining, you know, where he's like freezing. But it's so, this whole lockdown, this, quarantine, or I don't even know what to call it. I think we're starting to feel like Jack Nicholson in the beginning of that movie. You know, the cabin fever part. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. You know, it's not easy. How you feeling today, Michael? You a little less depressed? Yeah, I feel a lot better, actually. But yeah, I did sort of feel like Jack Nicholson in The Shining, just losing his mind from cabin fever or something. Yeah. You know. And I take a little comfort in knowing that everybody is suffering the same way, you know, because there's so many different angles of what's going on these days. It's cold, and there's also the political polarization. There's all the cancel culture stuff. There's all the fighting racism, fighting sexism, fighting homophobia. There's all the censorship. There's all the, you know, and then all the families. We've lost all our relationships because of stuff like, you know, wearing masks or vaccinations. One thing I think is interesting, Bill Gates doesn't wear a mask. He's an anti-masker. You'll never see a picture of Bill Gates wearing a mask. You know, he's not going to do that. Jessica says, Michael was ready to throw a sink through the window yesterday. Yeah, I know. Michael, you know, you're such a stupid, sentimental, sensitive artist. Remember that guy you saw yesterday? What guy? That artist on YouTube? There was this, like, white-haired artist who was talking about... No, it wasn't. It was Sylvester Stallone again. Why does he keep coming up? Sylvester Stallone, they asked Sylvester Stallone in an interview. They go, Sylvester Stallone, are you tough? And he goes, yeah, I am tough. But I'm not tough because I work out and box. I'm tough because on the inside, I can take a lot of rejection. I can take a lot of people saying, no, you'll never do it. Your smile is too crooked. Your voice is too low. You know. He goes, I'm tough because I don't let people say that stuff get in the way, you know. And he goes, the best artists in the world you'll never hear of because they're too sensitive. They can't handle the rejection. And so, Michael, if you want to be an artist, you got to toughen up. You can't be so sensitive. I know. I'm going to work on that. Okay. Well, I think that's all the time we have for today. We got a few minutes left. Do you want to come up and say hello to everyone? Sure. Okay. Well, everybody, great to see ya. Today is Ojibwe word of the day. Gasibiki Sakanake. Gisha good. It's floor washing day. So get out there and wash your floors. It'll make you feel better. It will, huh? Okay, I'm gonna go over here. Sunny day, Gika Wabamin, Minawa, Hokahe. Thank you, Natasha. Yeah, no problem. I'll get over there and say hello to everyone and then say goodbye. Okay. Mino Giga Jabe. And there goes a siren. Yep, so the water's running again. And cleaned up the floors. Exercised a little bit. I've been eating fairly well, and I feel 10% better than I did yesterday, which is almost totally fine. So, let's see. What do I want to talk about? This mystery of George Washington. I am George Washington. Let me talk about being the father of our country. Hugs to you, dear Natasha. Brandy Marie says hugs to you, Natasha. Oh, thanks so much. I didn't realize I can't do a Kermit the Frog. Because you go Kermit the Frog, and you think you can do Kermit the Frog. And that's all the practice I did for that voice. And then when I started talking, I went, oh wait, I don't know how Kermit talks. Brandy Marie says, oh wow, that's great. Glad to hear that you're feeling better today. Thank you, Brandy. Yeah, I feel a lot better. It's like I was saying yesterday, it's not new to me. I know about cold and the long winters of Minnesota. But it can be a psychological struggle. The Shining is such an interesting movie. I read the book too, and it's really nothing like the movie. But the theme of cabin fever and then just kind of losing your mind to solitude. I think that's probably a real thing. I mean, yeah, it's got Nanaboozhoo and Natasha, but, I've spent most days completely by myself, except for this show. Talk to a person in real life, every couple of days, maybe. Sometimes I go full weeks where I haven't spoken to anyone in real life. Or, no, that's not true. I'll talk to like somebody at a store. And, like the cashier's trying to get you through the line. You're like, hey, how you doing? It's been a while, wanting to catch up on something because you're just so lonely. Careful what you wish for, because I used to dream of having a life, when I would be so fed up with work and people in general. I was like, I dream of a time where I wouldn't have to deal with people. I wish I could just work from home doing something creative and fun, playing music and whatever, but I wouldn't have to deal with anybody. I used to almost, not envy, but I'd wonder, I bet you I could handle solitary confinement really well. I'm really good at entertaining myself. I have a lot of hobbies and a good imagination and stuff. But then this 2020 happens, and I get to live out that fantasy of, you don't have to go to work today. You don't have to talk to anybody all week if you don't want to. So now how will you live? And it can get emotional. So let's call that a show. Thank you so much, Miigwech. Kanawabiag. Thank you for watching NanaBOOZHOO. BOOZHOO NANABOOZHOO. Thank you for tuning in every morning and being an audience. I do appreciate it. And we'll be back tomorrow for our Valentine's morning show. And so tune in tomorrow at 6 o'clock for BOOZHOO NANABOOZHOO, the podcast about Ojibwe language and culture. I am Michael Lyons, and I will see you again. Kikawabamin. Minowa. Hawa.